So I had this very close friend whose father was a director of healthcare in Lagos State. I noticed that they lived in a house in Surulere that was not theirs. The house was a rented apartment, and the father was, of course, doing well. To be a director of health in Lagos State was not a small feature. But the father actually paid the rent with all joy in him because he was joyfully doing it because he didn't even have any plan to scale out from the apartment. Because I noticed that my friend, who's the son of the man, he was at odds with his father because the father wasn't coming through for the family. He concentrated on pleasing his friends and doing his job as expected of him, but he wasn't looking at the future and the future prospects of the family, which angered my friend so much because he wasn't even paying attention to his mother, right? So eventually I noticed that as soon as the man retired, he still lived in that rented apartment, but apparently depending on his pensions. And that hit home for me because what if he doesn't get his pensions, or his pensions get delayed at some point in time? Like, how would he be able to remit money to his landlord? And at that age, because when you retire, you become a matured person, right? You are said to be in a matured age. And how do you remit? Would you continue to keep paying rent to your landlord? And obviously, at some point when you are not having motor skills in your body, you can't move, you can't do your runarounds, you'll start to depend on your children to actually help you pay the landlord. And I knew the man had the capacity to get the property at that time, but my friend complained of his dad always trying to pose a lifestyle that he wasn't adequate to maintain. And the difference between that was that my mom too was also a civil servant. She worked with the aviation industry and she was doing well. But I noticed a great hunger for her getting properties. In fact, at some point I thought she was getting into real estate development because she was just buying land like heavily. And in different states in Nigeria, she bought about one plot here in Lagos and she developed it ASAP. My father was, of course, they were married, and my father too was in cohort with her regarding the development because she actually still she developed one house and then she built another house in front of it. Then eventually still bought another property in Abuja and bought properties in Delta State, that's my dad's state, bought properties in the north. I was like, wow. But now I see her vision. She was a visionary because she knew that at her retirement age she needed to fall back in her assets, and she has houses now that she can boast of that she worked hard for. At that point in time, a lot of people would have seen it as, why is she spending so much of her wealth into buying of properties? But now she sees the yield because at certain ages in your life, there are certain things you just don't do. You don't go out as much as you want because you don't see any thrill for it. Rather, you stay home. You make your home comfortable for you at your retirement age. That is why a lot of people just get country homes and retirement homes. It is